So, expanded unemployment benefits. So this is a part of the CARES Act that's under the bill, and the first part we're going to talk about here is the Section 2102, which is pandemic unemployment assistance. And this part is really for your self-employed individuals. I'm going to tell you, a lot of this is going to say you're eligible. Your questions might be, how does it all work? And my answer is going to be, I don't know yet, because there's no, what they're telling you here is that assistance is available, but the states haven't completely got around to releasing the guidance on how you go about applying for it and what type of documentation you're going to need. But I'll let you know that basically, if you were somebody who was not eligible for unemployment, which is self-employed people, officers of corporations, partners and partnerships, you're now potentially eligible for you're now eligible for unemployment benefits. You just need to provide self-certification that you can't work due to COVID-19. I don't have the link here, but this is pretty much turned into any reason that could possibly affect you from COVID-19 is going to qualify. So the only exceptions are, if you can, individuals who can work with telework with pay. So example, if you're a self-employed consultant and you're still able to do some consulting to some businesses that are maybe still open and you're getting paid, probably not going to qualify. If you're already receiving other sick leave or benefits, you're not going to qualify till they expire. So self-employed individuals, I believe, were also covered under the Families First Act. So if you're taking advantage of that, you're probably not eligible for unemployment benefits yet until that expires. The period of this coverage is going to go back to January 27th, 2020 through December 31st. It's going to be for a 39-week period. I believe that's an extension of the normal 26 weeks. This bolder point here, as of today, hasn't happened yet, but the Secretary is going to release guidance on how you make the assistance available for weeks beginning after January 27th through the date of this enactment. So if you've been unable to work from January 27th through today, it does appear there's going to be some catch-up available. The amount of the assistance, the weekly benefit amount, it's going to pretty much go to the states first, and whatever you would normally qualify for under state unemployment, you're going to get that first, and that's, again, that the state has even expanded to allowing self-employed individuals, so they're going to base that somehow off your distributions or Schedule C income or something like that. You're going to get what you get from the state first, and then the federal pandemic and unemployment compensation, we're going to discuss this in a minute, but you're going to also qualify for this additional $600 that the federal government's giving. If they increase weekly benefits after the date of this enactment, you'll qualify for them. And again, just reiterating that it's going to calculate at the state level first and then add the $600. This does appear to be the same thing as the disaster unemployment assistance. So if you're familiar with that program at all for self-employed individuals, you're probably not getting both of these. In fact, I still don't think the disaster unemployment assistance line is even up and running. Section 2104 of the bill talks about emergency increase of the unemployment compensation benefits. So this now applies to everybody beyond just self-employed individuals, everybody on unemployment. If you're eligible, it's any state that desires to enter into this agreement under this section of the Secretary of Labor. I haven't found official confirmation that Pennsylvania has done this, but I really don't see why they wouldn't if they haven't already. This cover period is going to run through the date the state enters into the agreement, and it's going to be through July 31st of 2020. And what this means is you're going to be eligible for the weekly amount normally paid under state law, and that can continue all the way as long as you're under unemployment. But this additional $600 a week by the federal government. So self-employed individuals are going to be eligible for this, and employees are going to be eligible for this. this $600 is going to run through July 31st of 2020, and then it will most likely stop unless they extend it. They're giving the states a couple different options, and basically it's going to run through the state somehow. Pennsylvania's website is, and we already have a link posted to their FAQs on our website. They haven't come out and said exactly how they're going to be processing all this yet, but it's going to be processed at the state level, and they may just include the $600 with your benefits. They may be issuing you a separate check. That piece is not quite clear yet. Amounts paid of this extra $600 appears that it is not going to affect your eligibility for Medicaid or CHIP if you have kids on CHIP. So, any questions on this section?
A couple questions on the unemployment. What about a person that is unemployed for the past year but was ready to return to employment? Are they now qualified for unemployment?
I'm assuming that they may mean they were getting unemployment and had passed a certain time frame and trying to get back to work. Would they qualify again? I don't know the answer to that. I haven't seen any. I've read through a lot of the a lot of the stuff PA has had about this, and I don't know the answer to that. My recommendation would be you maybe try to apply again and see if it lets you go through. Unfortunately, the problem with unemployment is they are totally overwhelmed. So their website's been crashing at times. They're taking a long time to get these PIN numbers out. They're telling everybody to apply online, and they're not providing a lot of guidance with how this is all going to work out. They're just letting you know it's out there. But their chat feature is not always working properly, and people are not necessarily having success calling in.
Okay, we have employees that are laid off due to COVID. When will the $600 stimulus be added to their unemployment benefits, especially for PA?
We don't know yet. It's supposed to be from the date PA opts into this agreement, and like I said, I haven't found anything officially where PA has opted in. I think they will. I think they're working on it right now. So I'd say it's probably coming, but I don't have a definitive time frame of when that'll happen.
Okay, last question period. You define self-employed in part as S-Corp that have no employees. What if you are an S-Corp and have 4 employees? Do you not qualify for pandemic and unemployment?
No, you would qualify. In that scenario, let me clarify that a bit. Sorry. In that scenario, your 4 employees would obviously qualify for unemployment. And then when we talk about self-employed, in that pandemic unemployment, that's self-employed, and it's also officers of S-Corps that it would expand to, as we understand it. So it's basically anybody who previously was not eligible for unemployment due to whatever restrictions were out there is now eligible. So the employees could collect unemployment, and the officers of the corp themselves could apply for unemployment now.
Okay, and this one is related to unemployment and the PPP loan. If certain employees get more money on unemployment with the federal $600 addition, are they required to come back to us and take the cut, or what happens?
That has been a sticking point. That very question is specifically why the CARES Act took so long to pass, is because there is no cap on that $600, and it's motivating people to potentially stay on unemployment because they're going to get what they're getting from the state, and it's $600 as a weekly benefit, and that might be more than what they were making at their job. I believe that if you can prove to the Department of Labor that you're attempting to bring them back to work, and you can show them we've been accepted for the PPP, you can you could probably have a case to make there. I just don't know how strictly PA unemployment is going to enforce all this. So that is a concern. That is a definite concern for business owners who have people on unemployment right now and are applying for the PPP loan. Are they going to be able to talk their employees into coming back, and what's the process look like to get them back?
Okay, another question about the PPP loan. When the loan is exhausted through payroll, would the loan still be forgivable if your business cannot continue to sustain employees due to the impact of COVID-19?
Yes, I believe it would. If you've used the costs for there's nothing about remaining in business that I've seen. If you unfortunately have to go out, if you were basically trying your best in that scenario to get through these 8 weeks and pay your employees, as long as you can show you paid them for that 8-week period, that's fine. If you start to fade for whatever reason and have to shut down in the midst of that 8-week period, then you might have some issues on the forgiveness there. And I'd suggest if that's a scenario you're in, you call your lender immediately and let them know.
Okay, I have independent contractors who come and go turnover frequently throughout the year. How would I calculate my full-time equivalents if I want to include them?
I'm not completely sure on that. I would imagine you'd have to take what they're typically working in hours and still maybe do some sort of that 2080 calc. I imagine that question's kind of being worded that I might be paying one subcontractor January through April, but then they move on, so I need to replace them, and now I'm paying them May through June. So if they're ending up working, say that happens unfortunately 3 times throughout the year, you lose and have to replace. Those people might count as one full-time equivalent, but if there's any sort of period in between there where maybe between April and May you're hiring, then you're probably just going to be looking at a number of hours thing there and dividing by 2080.
Okay, and do you expect in another phase that the PPP will be repeated again after the 8 weeks, and would one be required to apply all over again?
I don't have an expectation one way or another. Could the government, if this continues, could the government try to offer additional assistance? Yes. Would you probably have to reapply? Yes. I don't have any indication though that that's going to happen right now. I think everybody is very, very, very hopeful and optimistic that certainly by the end of May, which would be 8 weeks from today, that we're all back to work. So I don't think any decisions are being even discussed about that right now.
Okay, that's the end of our question.